Wasn't Jake supposed to take care of this?
Me and Nicky are having...
Oh!
Yeah!
Yo! Oh! Oh!
Yo, guys!
What the hell?
Ah!
Yo!
Ah!
Eh? No. What the?
Ah! Ah! Ah!
Hi everyone, it's 314 React here. Today we're going to be looking into Max Payne with RTX Remix. Now this has been developed by the developer Slask's Psych Bunker, and they've uploaded their work to ModDB. They've used RTX Remix to convert assets from the original Max Payne, as well as use RTX Remix to run over the Max Payne original engine and implement path tracing and PBR rendering into it. So they've got a nice set of requirements and installation instructions here. I'll put a link to ModDB in the description, so go check that out. The obvious requirements are an NVIDIA RTX graphics card, a retail copy of Max Payne updated to version 1.05, won't work with the demo version, so the one you get off Steam should be enough, and the latest GPU drivers. The first thing you're going to need is the RTX Remix downloader. Going to need the installation for the DirectX 9 redistributable, and we're going to need the definitive fix from the PC Gaming Wiki. So first off, let's have a look at the RTX downloader. Open this up. It brings up a command line window. You just press enter to continue, and what it will do is it will download the NVIDIA GameWorks RTX Remix stuff to the Remix folder, which is in the same folder as the exe. It takes a little while to download it all, and when it's downloaded, it asks if you'd like to open the Remix directory where it's put all the stuff. Just hit yes, and here we can see the contents of the folder. Now what you do is open up the Max Payne folder. So for me, it's under my Steam library, Steam Apps Common, Max Payne, and you just drag and drop all of those files over. And the next thing you're going to need is the DirectX redistributable. And you open that up and it'll ask you to extract the files out, and then out they go. And once they're downloaded, you go in and find the installer, just here, dxsetup.exe, and you run this old bad boy, and then that installs the DirectX 9 components. Very nostalgic. And that's done. Then what you do is you get the definitive fix, and you essentially drag all of the files and folders from there into the Max Payne folder, overwriting anything if necessary. Now that just fixes the sound issues because the sound won't play in game, and it also fixes crashes and allows for a level selector, which is quite handy. Then once all that's done, you download the MP Roscoe version 0.4 file, and there's also a low spec config here as well, but we're going to be focusing on the purely high spec just to get as much out of this as possible. Open up this folder, take everything in here, and drag and drop it over to the Max Payne folder again overwriting anything if necessary. And if you do want to install the RTX low spec config, you can download that, drag it and drop it over to here, and then rename the RTX config to something else, and then rename that to RTX config, and that should give you the low spec. And then you open up Max Payne, and it takes you to the config. Set up any config you need here. Resolution, make sure it's on hardware, TNL, customized game, level selector. Then you go into options. The only thing you really need to focus on, everything high, character shadows down to 0, and the detailed textures need to be set to medium. And text to color depth definitely needs to be 32-bit. Then click OK, and then you click play. And here we are in game. So let's go to the level selector. Let's go to part 1, and it's got Max Payne's house. So here we are. Now as you can see, everything has been
What the hell?
RTX'd up. And if we press Alt and X, I believe, we can bring up the RTX menu. Looks like we can enable frame generation here as well. So 42 frames a second, is that right? Yeah, 42 frames a second. So this is quite heavy duty. We are running with 8 times anti-aliasing as well. If we enable frame generation, see if that does anything. 58, yep, 60. There you go. So you can just enable frame generation and get more frames out of it. That is so cool. That must mean that RTX Remix has enough access to the game engine to understand the vectors of movement and stuff to be able to generate the intermediate frames. That's pretty cool. Path tracing settings here. Loads of settings. I'm going to have to do a bit more of a dive into these settings at some point. Okay, so there's a separate graphics setting menu here as well, DLSS. Yes, that's the developer setting menu, and this is the graphics setting menu, so you get a bit deeper looking at things with the developer menu. Man, there's so many settings on this. It's so satisfying. And we're also using about 8 gigs of VRAM with this as well. So you could say that everything is maxed out. Yeah, so this is basically it, and here you can see the extra shadowing, like that really soft path trace shadowing from every light source. The material on Max's clothing there, there's a bit too much shininess on his head. I think that's just due to the fact that there's limitations with the old polygons and some of the old textures. But his hair does look a bit more hair-like. You can see there's clipping to black in some areas. I think that's because the game is still running in a standard dynamic range. So some of the lighting calculations are just completely dipping out. Here we can see another little bug here where you can see the fire coming through. Max there, some sort of Z buffering issue. I'm still not 100% on how RTX Remix works, but I think it interprets calls from the game engine from DirectX and puts it through Remix and then redesigns or redoes the rendered image to have path tracing in it. Something I'm going to have to look a bit more into, but it is quite advanced and quite amazing. So you can also see there's some glass material here which has some lighting reflections on it. There's a mirror there which has a full reflection on it. You can see a bit of blur as it's using accumulated rays. And I think there's even some reflections on that metal on the toilet as well. So yeah, it's using PBR textures for a lot better rendered textures. I think they've been redone using the RTX Remix tool. But yeah, you can see there's shadows pretty much everywhere. There's some oddities because that little lamp on the right there, when it's slightly off screen or off screen, it's not having any impact on the lighting. But then when you get it on screen, and then suddenly it's lighting up the room. So there is some sort of maybe that's not the screen space of RTX Remix. That could just be the game engine itself doing something with the lighting. I don't know. When you get close to it, it does something. How odd is that? I don't know. I don't even know if that's a screen space thing, but that is very interesting. The soft tailing off of the shadows, how the shadows seamlessly merge with other lighting. There's no difference between ambient occlusion and lighting and reflections. It's all just seamlessly merges together. Look at that completely soft shadow. There's another reflection there it's not kicking in there, and then at a certain point it kicks in. So you've got the reflection in the light there, but the lamp looks kind of weird and old and doesn't look like it's illuminated. Then you turn, then suddenly the lamp is illuminated, and then the textures are all back to the old style. So yeah, there's some strange stuff with this. Yeah, there you go, the full shadowing's back in. Even Max's coat looks like it's losing the PBR rendering effect. You can do sort of RTX on, RTX off sort of comparison just by sort of moving. So that's with the RTX on, and that's with it off. Anyway, let's move on to the subway level, because that is where the real meat of this mod lies. See, the cutscenes are completely dark. Something to do with the old school lighting. Here we go. Ah, that old cheesy grin. Oh, look at the material on that bin. The lighting from the train. Yeah, look at the leather on Max's jacket. And then the reflections on the floor. Oh, physically based rendering. Again, a lot of clipping to black there. I think, again, that's due to the lower dynamic range of the lighting. At least I think so anyway. It could be a texture thing, something else, I'm not sure. But yeah, look at the shadows on that. You can see like some blur on the shadows and some weird effect going on there where there's not enough ray counts, ray sampling going on. So it's giving a bit of a noisy image, but other than that, that is amazing. And again, really nice shadow drop off. The kind of stuff that's really hard to emulate with rasterization. Oh, look at that. That's so nice. Again, the bin texture, reflections in the floor. So you got Max's shadow and a sort of reflection of Max as well, but really, really diffused reflection. Seems to be a bit more consistent here. It doesn't seem to switch off at random points like in the house. There's another mirror. Oh, look at that. Let's see if we can turn the rendering settings down low. Okay, so you can see all the changes it makes to the light bounces. Let's go low, see how different it looks. Oh, even the skin textures look more realistic. So yeah, this is low. So still looks damn good. I just think there's significantly less ray counts and the frame rate is way higher. Let's see what happens when the train goes by. Yeah, it looks a bit more noisier in the shadows and stuff. Still looks really good. But yeah, those settings there low. You've got the minimum light bounces to 0, max to 2, volumetric lighting off, denoising is low, text quality is low, particle light none, no post effects. Then ultra, wax all that up. 1 minimum light bounces, 4 max, volumetric lighting, denoising text. Yeah, so it doesn't seem to make too much difference, but the settings are there. There's also tons of settings here. So I'm going to have to go through these at some point. I need to find out how to make the font bigger on this, then I can properly look at it in a video. Anyway, let's leave that on ultra, because we're getting about 60 to 70 FPS with that on, and DLSS 3 frame generation, so that's all good. One of the things to note is that back in the day, textures had a lot of lighting effects built into them, so you will see textures that don't look so hot because they've got pre-baked like reflections in them, like this metal here. So I think you'd have to redo those textures or do something else with them to get rid of that pre-baked look and then put some real-time lighting on it instead. Oh, look at that lighting up here. Yeah, there are some points where the lights are still going odd and turning off and doing weird things. But again, I don't know whether that's part of the game or... Yeah, like that light there. That light there is off, and then you go closer and it's on, off, on. Might be a distance thing, where it's only applying certain lights and shadowing at certain distances to save on performance, which sort of makes sense. Looks like there's something odd happening with the textures as well the further we get away from them. So it's probably doing less PBR, distant textures, maybe switching to mipmaps or something. I don't quite know. I'd have thought there'd been a range under here where it allows you to choose the distance that they disappear off from. So I'm not sure how many of these are... Oh, there we go, that made a change. So you can, under material filtering, you can do use white material textures, override all objects materials by white material. You can really see the details of the shadowing here. That's cool. I need to do more research on how RTX Remix actually works and get a bit of intuition for how it works. Yeah, even the wood has nice sort of textures applied to it.
Kiss it goodbye.
Ooh, yeah. Brilliant. Yeah, look at that. It's not perfect, the materials, obviously. But they do look so damn amazing. And I suppose you can add in reflections and refractions on glass. Yeah, again, there's a lot of light culling here. A lot. And a lot of weird things going on with it. Something similar happened when I used RTX Remix on Half-Life Source.
Home free. This way. What the hell?
Oh, damn. Here we go. There's some different materials. Nice materials on the wall there. I imagine at some point you'd be able to have some sort of refraction through that water cooler. But for the moment it looks like it's just simple transparency. The sofas, they've got some lighting effects on them, slightly more leathery. Bit of blur around the gun there. Don't know whether that's lag, as in the rays have to fill that area in, or RTX Remix has to do something as soon as that information hits the screen, after it's been occluded by the shotgun. Whoa. Whoops. Damn. I remember seeing this game on Xbox when I was younger in a old magazine in like 2001 or something. It just looked so amazing and I just always wanted to play it, but I never got a chance to play it. So this is pretty much my first time playing it. Look at all the individual little shadows behind these things, the bump mapping there, the materials, lights, shadowing. It just looks incredible. See, I've been playing around with some of the settings here, and you can see some of the differences it makes. You can turn off global illumination. You can see a bit of the light bouncing disappears there. You can put the denoiser into reference mode, which I think makes it a sort of an ideal result of what you'd get from an image, which makes it look a bit too sharp, but yeah. Basically just denoises as much as possible and accumulates a whole load of rays. You can see the rays accumulating up and getting towards that ideal static image. Of course, because it's such a intense denoiser, it needs a lot of ray data, so it's as soon as you start moving it loses that data, then has to re-sharpen up and denoise it. You can even put in debug visualization so you can see light sources as like 2D circles, and yeah, you can see it's getting the off-screen data there. Again, it's losing that light there, but at least it's getting the lights that aren't on screen, so it's not a screen space based thing, which is really cool. You can turn off secondary bounces. So you can see how much more it lights up the environment with that on. So yeah, let's take a bit more of a look around. Whoop. Yeah, I think even the muzzle flash has some ray tracing lighting on it. Looks like some volumetric smoke effects there. I don't think that would have been in the original game. See if we can find anything about volumetrics. Fog remapping. Oh. Yeah, because there's a way to change the fog from fixed function fog and make it into something a bit more volumetric, but I don't think that's having any effect on that. It's just sort of getting rid of it and then making things, very strange things happen to Max's head, because I think the actual smoke effect is going across him. It's cool you can just add and remove these effects like that though. They're so cool. Either way, it looks like it's improving those smoke effects as well. I wonder if there's shadowing on them. Doesn't quite look like it. It's hard to tell, but I think there is actually some shadowing on them. So you've got volumetric shadows hitting volumetric smoke. No, actually, no, I don't think it is. No, I don't think it is. Might be a bit of an old school smoke effect. Hard to tell. Does look good though. Again, you can see how these areas just look so much more improved from the original game. You can even enable a free camera setting, which means the RTX Remix has access to the camera in game, which is crazy. Oh. Some weird things happen with the lighting though. Well, that's really strange. Look at that. Is that some sort of culling for something that's off screen? Yeah, it is. Oh wow, that's weird. I guess off screen in terms of the characters facing that way? I don't know. It's fascinating though. It's fascinating to see all these settings. Oh yeah, you can even move the camera to where the character isn't even there anymore. And you can really see where things are culled. Lights are culled when the character completely goes off screen. That is fascinating. Yeah, you can just move the character around. Oh, how weird is that? RTX Remix is insane. Oh, that's a cool movie shot. Time to get the thumbnail set up. Yeah, look at that. Oh, that's awesome. It's like the old Xbox magazine screenshot that I used to always look at. I don't think you'd ever actually get that in game, but now we can. And the detail on the Berettas. So here we are in another very well rendered bit with lots of lighting and shadows. We do a slow-mo dive there. You can see he's even shadowing in this little bit here with the bricks. Again, pretty much perfect real-time shadowing. Incredibly diffuse the way the shadows mix with the natural darkly lit areas. And a bit of subtle shadowing there. There we go, got the old shotgun back. Oh, look at that lighting as you open the door. Fantastic. I just love how the shadow is really strong up close to the wall, and then as you get further away it becomes more diffuse. Ah, here's some water. Here we go. The water test. Are there reflections in the water? Is RTX Remix doing anything with the water there? It looks like something's happening in that bit. It's attempting to do something with the water. But not quite. It's a shame because it would have been cool to ray trace up the water, get the look of bump mapping on it, normal mapping, reflections, refractions, caustics. That would all be really cool to implement. Oh.
What the hell was that?
Yeah, what the hell was that? So I think for the most part, the assets have been remixed for just the first couple of levels. It will still implement some RTX on the later levels. So we'll have a look at the later levels in a second. See, here you can see some really, really good examples of where the lighting has been pre-baked into the textures. And there's nothing real time about that sort of sheen and reflection on the metal textures there. It's all just baked in. So I imagine they'll find a way to replace that in future in real time using RTX Remix. But still, you've got the shadowing going through the glass there. So you've got a kind of glassy shadow. Again, that must be hard to do in rasterization because glass can have a shadow that can occlude some light even though it's predominantly see-through. So you've got a glassy shadow there and then Max's shadow through that. God, that's nice. And the fact that this can just be done to almost any game as long as it supports DirectX, I think at the moment. You can do DirectX 8 to 9 conversion, or maybe even 7 to 9. As for whether it works for Vulkan or OpenGL, not quite sure. Oh, even the explosion puts out some nice light. That is very cool.
Almost gave me a heart attack. I nearly shot you.
Yeah, there's no subsurface scarring on the skin.
What the hell's going
That'd be a
on?
cool thing to add.
This is Lupino's gig?
This is Lupino's doing? Lupino's men? Really?
You sure know how to pick a place? Can you get through?
No, it's locked. We gotta get out of here. Alex? Alex!
Ah, the turn of the millennium fashion. What a time. So good. Oh my god. Oh, into the snowy outside bit now. So yeah, you can still see some ray tracing being applied there. I just don't think the materials will have been redone with Remix yet, which is why the name of the file when you download it is called Roscoe, because it's all about the Roscoe station underground. Yeah, look, some of these textures just aren't being touched by RTX. Oh, they've got some sheen on them. But let's see if we can go on level select. Hotel, tenant buildings, rooftops, alleys, nightclub. Let's try Ragnarok. So yeah, the outside cutscene opening bit is completely dark. I think that might be an RTX thing though, where the character isn't there, so the lighting's not on. I don't know, because when we moved the camera earlier, we saw that the lighting wasn't there. So it could just be how RTX Remix determines where it needs to put lighting. But yeah, you can see the textures here have just a basic kind of lighting sheen to them. There's not been any sort of PBR applied to them. Yeah, I've just noticed under the folder E2 driver, RTX Remix mods, game ready assets, there are textures. So yeah, quite a few of the textures have had to have manually been redone in order to have the new PBR effects. So that's not something that can be done in real time with Remix at the moment. Those do need to be done, and that's why only the first couple of levels have been done with this right now, because the rest of the game will have the real-time lighting effects added in dynamically, but the textures won't be done up to PBR. Hopefully the modder adds more of that on, and eventually the whole game will be done with RTX Remix. But there's still enhancements on Max, and there's still additional lighting. Just trying to find if there's a area where you're actually outside in the snow. Yeah, it has a bit of an outside bit, but yeah, it is just Roscoe that's done. Still looks great though with all the extra shadowing and that. It would just be really cool to have some PBR on the snow. I'm guessing the modder is going to get to that. Because I'm guessing it's going to take quite a lot of work to get this to work for the whole game. And then hopefully Nvidia pick it up and there's an official Max Payne RTX release at some point. But then again, even the kind of snowy bits on the building here still have specular on them. The shadowing looks damn good. So I think this is just the beginning of what RTX Remix can do. It's not long before you just have a neural rendering overlay that just goes over any game in real time. Probably even built into Reshade at some point, where you can just enable it and go, here's what I want the game to look like, and just do it all in real time yourself, and just remaster a game in real time yourself. And I think it still needs a bit of work in some areas, because in some ways, some of the lighting, I think it's just because of the low poly models, I think, to be fair, but some of the lighting does remind me of Half-Life Source lighting when that first came out. But I think that is just because of the harsh angles of the polygons. But there is a configuration file that you can adjust a few things in. Let's take a quick look at that now. So under the Max Payne folder again, it's Max Payne E2 driver, under here RTX conf, and yeah, there's a bunch of settings. Effect light radius, culling, ooh, anti-culling light FFV scale. That may be a setting that can be changed to stop the lights disappearing at a certain range or at certain angles and stuff like that. Some texture IDs, I'm guessing. DLSS quality. I think all these may be available in the menu that we see when you press Alt-X, but it has some extra stuff like the particle textures, tone mapping. So yeah, you can pretty much configure it how you want and change the shininess of some of the materials as well. So you can make things look a little less oily or a little more oily. And here we go, got opaque material metallic bias 0.3. Let's crank that up to 8. And then the material roughness scale 0.8. Let's put that to 2. And let's see if we can make it look really, really shiny. Let's boot back into the game. Oh, wow. Yeah, adjusting those settings makes things very oily. That is some serious Vaseline. Wow. Man, that is funny. I think that is where we should exit the video, because that is absurd. It's like he's going to slip up. Nice. Okie dokie. So that is Max Payne with RTX Remix. Looks absolutely awesome, obviously when it's tuned down to normal settings. But yeah, it's very exciting to see what the future will bring for this. As I say, probably a few years it will just be a neural overlay. It just changes the entire look of the game, completely configurable way, and there'll be loads of custom models out there. It's really, really cool. It's very, very exciting. It's also just so funny how, you know, a couple of decades ago this was really advanced technology, and now we're sort of latching onto that technology and overwriting it in various ways and reinterpreting it. It's just really cool. And this scene, wow, look how cool that looks. All the links will be in the description to how you can get the mod. Hopefully that's a good guide of how to install it. Again, the modder has a guide on the ModDB page. It's good fun. I can't wait for it to hit other games. I think someone has already done it for a Tomb Raider game, so I'm gonna have to try it on that at some point. Leave a like, leave a comment, let me know what you think. Subscribe for more tech and video game content as we go forward. I hope everyone's staying safe, and I will see you in the next video.